welcome to a special edition of the Daikaiju Network Show podcast. I am your host, Jason, and unfortunately, Kent wasn't able to make it. This time he hasn't been feeling well for the past week plus here. Yes, so he was sort of debating if he was going to come on or anything, but fortunately he just couldn't. Although he's been feeling better, but he just kind of needed to clean some things up, and hopefully he should be able to come back on next Saturday in the new year. So it's just gonna be me this time. It's been quite some time since the last time I kind of pretty much was in the driver's seat doing a episode by myself. So you're just going to have to deal with me for the next hour or so. So I'm going to try to keep this brief because I know the year-end Kaijupalooza that we usually do every year around this time is usually one of our longest episodes that we typically do every year. But unfortunately, with Kent not feeling well, so things have been kind of trimmed down significantly. Although he did send me some of his notes and wanted me to read to you guys on a few of the things, because we're going to be going over some of the anniversaries when it comes to Matango, Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S, Godzilla versus MECHAGODZILLA II, and I think Godzilla versus Megalon. And I think that's relatively it for as far as the film anniversaries. And then Kent wanted me to kind of read his review on the new Netflix anime of Gamera there. And then I'm just going to kind of go over kind of the overview of, or the year in review of 2023 and some of the things that I'm kind of looking forward to or what to expect in 2024. So that's kind of pretty much it. And I'll probably discuss a little bit of the news as hit the round here recently, since in the last few weeks since our last episode where we discussed and reviewed the latest Toho installment of Godzilla -1, which you can see available on video format, and as well as audio version if you like either one of those there. So speaking of which, if you see a subscribe button down below, make sure to, or above wherever you're watching us from, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as well as smash the like button. And if you have any questions or comments regarding to what I'll be discussing in this episode, make sure to have your comments written down below. And you can find everything Daikaiju Network all in one place at our Linktree URL right there on your screen /Daikaiju Network. And we're available on the following video platforms such as YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Facebook, and as well as X/Twitter. And we're also available on the following audio platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and as well as Podbean. And you can find us everywhere. Excuse me. You can find both video and audio versions of our episodes right on our website right there at DaikajuNetwork.com. So just give me one moment here. I want to put down a little ticker here. There we go. And before we kind of dive into everything, I just kind of want to go over a couple of little news bits here and there. And you probably have noticed that Toho is going to be re-releasing Godzilla -1. However, it's just going to be a pretty much a monochrome version of Godzilla -1 here. And you can see it right there that they're going to be releasing it, as far as I know, only in Japan around January 12th. right there. So if you just want, for those of you who are maybe traveling to Japan or vacationing in Japan right around this time, you can maybe go check it out if you want to go experience a Godzilla movie in Japan itself. It would be nice if I could do it one of these days, but maybe whenever I get there in a couple or so years. I'm not even sure if there'll be a Godzilla movie around that time, but we'll see when that time comes. But yeah, so that's kind of one of the things that's cropped up recently. Nothing too special. The only obviously special thing is just that the film is just in monochrome or black and white there, so you can just kind of experience that. And then pretty much a new season of this Ultraman New Generation Stars, which I've not even really heard of it. And apparently it's in a second season of it. And I was trying to take a look in this article from Sci-Fi Japan here, and it looks like it's not even available on their YouTube channel. It would have been nice if it was available on their YouTube channel, because I would have liked to take a look at this. It's pretty much all the Ultraman that has appeared within the past 10, 15 or so years. With, you got your Ultraman Z, Ultraman Geed, X, Victory, or so on and so forth there. So I'm not entirely sure what this is all about, because like I said, I never even typically heard of this Ultraman series that has probably been around since last year or probably early this year. So for those of you that have looked at it, let me know, see if it's any good. Maybe kind of take a look at it one of these times or so. But hopefully that Super would have this available on their official YouTube channel one of these days, if it is or not. So yeah, so that's kind of pretty much it that I can think of as far as news. We've seen the trailer to the upcoming Godzilla Kong, the New Empire there, where we get to see the new Scar King, one of the main villains in there. Oh, and speaking of which, I know I've seen some rumors around there that's been going around the last couple or so days that, and I would take this with a grain of salt, that apparently Mothra may be returning to the MonsterVerse, because there's something like a moth-like kaiju appearing on one of the Playmate toy packaging on there from, I forget where I originally saw this, and it's been sort of cropping up the last 24 or so hours that potentially Mothra might be coming. But at this point in time, I would just relatively take this with a grain of salt when it comes to that, because I mean, we've already seen the unveiling of not only Scar King but Shimo as well, of what both of them are going to be looking like in this movie. So, and then as well as kind of the little Khan, and then this Doug type of kaiju lizard and everything. But yeah, so apparently Mothra is going to be coming. That's one of the rumors that's coming around for the upcoming Godzilla Kong, the New Empire movie. But like I said, just as of right now, until the movie hits theaters, I would just take this rumor with a grain of salt. So I think that is relatively it that I wanted to briefly discuss about as far as some of the news and everything. So I would say maybe the next thing is to read one of Kent's reviews here on the new Netflix anime TV show Gamera versus the five kaiju, and I haven't had Netflix for probably a couple or so years. I sort of briefly subscribed to it to watch one of the specific shows on there, and then I unsubscribed for it and haven't been on there since. So I haven't had time to take a look at not only this Gamera show, but then there's going to be an upcoming Ultraman animated show on there, and as well as the final season 2, the anime Ultraman that was based on a manga there that I did see the first 2 seasons on there, but still haven't gotten around to it for the last couple or so years. So before I do, I'm going to take a little drink here just to kind of get my mouth a bit moist there, so it won't be a bit too dry here, because when it comes to Ken, he types down quite a bit on here, and when I was taking a look at his notes, he's written quite a few, especially for the 30th anniversary, not 30th anniversary, but the film Anniversaries that we're going to be discussing about here in a bit. So it would have been nice that if Kent would have just waited on this Gamera review until I got around to it, but we'll probably get around to it eventually. But here it goes. So for Kent's Gamera versus the 5 Kaiju review, similar to the Godzilla anime properties, Godzilla versus the 5 Kaiju brings us a lot of new material for long-established characters that breathes some much-needed life into the series. Not only the designs of the kaiju dramatically changed, but some of their behavior and their abilities. The story is also filled with a lot of lore, world building, and depth. Each kaiju has a unique personality that makes it a formidable foe for Gamera, and this makes it a delight to see. However, similar to what we've seen in the previous Gamera films, Gamera defeats every kaiju by pulling some move out of thin air without even a hint of his ability to do said moves. There are about 2, though, that make sense for him to pull off, given his physiology. Like a lot of anime, there's always a surprise twist. There we go. Sorry about that. For some apparent reason, my power went out because my entire computer went off, and even my little podcast streaming deck over here. I don't even know what the heck happened or anything of the sort. And let me do that there. Yeah, it was. I don't know what the heck happened. There's like it just briefly went out and then went back on, and very, very, very strange to say the least. So sorry about all of that. Let me just double check, see if I'm still live on YouTube here. Just double check here. Yep, I'm still back. I'm still on YouTube there. So thank God for that. So again, apologies for everything, for the little technical difficulties. It's just really odd that the power just briefly went out there for a millisecond there, because I think that had to be probably the very first time that it sort of briefly. No. It may have gone out at least 2 or 3 times since I've been in this house. So for the last time, apologies for that. So let me bring up Kent's notes again. I'm not even sure where I was at on the Gamera review here. Let's see here. Okay, physiology. Like a lot of anime, there's always a surprise twist. I was surprised, whatever reason, Barugan wasn't included in the kaiju lineup, but really loved how each kaiju was available to use previous weapons and skills, but with some added flair. Giron, for example, flips around in order to cut up Gamera. Virus also has some real unique abilities that make it immensely powerful. But the best parts of the miniseries has to be the following. Excuse me. A secret society that is based just on the dark side of the moon, and uberly powered cows, hybrid that serves as a big baddie at the end of the series, and a different spin on Gamera's lore. I was a bit disappointed, however, in how the secret society was dismantled by Gamera. It is another one of those movies that Gamera pulls out of nowhere and made my eyes roll. The series has some heartfelt moments that did make me welled up some, including the death of Gamera. What was disappointing too was that each kaiju was only given one episode, and some of the battles were way too short. It would have been great for the series to either extend the fights to a bigger battle near the end of the series, to have some of the battles run into subsequent episodes, or to extend the series by a few episodes. Nevertheless, it saddens me more fans aren't discussing this wonderful series. It's a very mature one that drops the F-bomb a number of times throughout, as well as other swear words. Some violence, per usual for Gamera, can get gruesome. Without a doubt, Gamera versus the Five Kaiju deserves to be hailed as potentially the best Gamera storyline told yet. I cannot recommend this miniseries highly enough, and he gives his final grade of Gamera versus the Five Kaiju an A+, which is a bit surprising to me from what he's sort of written here. I would have thought that he would have given that series maybe an A-, probably the lowest A, around a B, something of the sort here. So, and we get a little shout out there for Ichiro Hayashida there. Hi, back to you. So, good to hear everyone, one of our fans and everything there watching on Twitch. So, since talked about Kent's review on Gamera versus the Five Kaiju there, now let's just go over the films celebrating their anniversaries this year here in 2023. And let's go with the first one here. Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. celebrating celebrating its 20th anniversary here, also known as Godzilla X Mechagodzilla X, or Godzilla X Mothra X Mechagodzilla Tokyo S.O.S. And this was released back in 2003 before Final Wars. I can still remember like it was yesterday when it was announced, and going on to the official Godzilla website, which is still using the godzilla.co.jp URL for things today. But I remember it kind of had that splash screen with kind of the poster of showing halves of Mechagodzilla, Godzilla, and as well as Mothra there. I can't honestly remember the last time I watched a movie. I know it was at least since we last reviewed the film some years back in the early days when we transitioned from PXCR to Daikaiju Network, because I know we kind of did a in an era where we re-review or revisited some of the earlier Godzilla films, where we did kind of the first handful of episodes when we started out doing the podcast, and we didn't care much of some of the discussions and reviews that we did of some of those said films. So we kind of decided to do a revisit, rediscussion of some of those films. So yeah, it's when it comes to Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S, if I can remember clearly, it's one of those films that's, I would say, a bit satisfying in a way, and it kind of and it's also a direct sequel to, I think to the 1961 Mothra, because you had some of the returning characters, and they're like Hideo Koizumi, who reprised one of his roles from that particular film of Mothra there. So it's a pretty satisfying, obviously not one of the best films in the series, to say the least, but it kind of, I would say, at least sort of satisfies your appetite, and at least just more content for the franchise and everything. But yes, it is Hiroshi Koizumi who reprises his role there, Ichiro. Yeah. Let me just double check here. You say Chujo. Let me just type in here Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S cast. Let's see here. Yeah, he plays as Dr. Shinichi Chujo there. So yeah, he just kind of reprises his role from that character that appeared in the 1961 Mothra there. And it's a pretty decent entry into the franchise and everything. I honestly can't remember the rating I gave this review or that particular film there. Yeah, he did have I believe a son, or at least a relative, called Yoshido Shujo. They're played by Noboru Kaneko there. So I don't think he had a son in the regular Mothra in 1961, just only in this particular film, or at least a relative for that matter. So it's just pretty much kind of rehashing some of the things of the past from the 1961 Mothra film there, and then bringing in the new Mechagodzilla coming back and the likes. So so let me just read off of what Kent had to say here. He says, Tokyo S.O.S. possibly may be my second favorite Godzilla movie out of the Millennium era. A lot of that is due to Tezuka beginning the final battle halfway into the movie and never letting up until his conclusion. The introduction of Mothra into a Mechagodzilla movie adds a new twist to the franchise here. With time, sadly, I have lost some of the immense love I once had for the movie. Part of that is the near carbon copy way they brought in the Mothra larvae and Shujo being a character that has become more grating. His immense obsession with Mechagodzilla, as well as calling it Mecha G in the dub, and not really having any arc makes him a blah character that adds nothing of any value or substance to the story. Hiroshi Koizumi reprising his role as Shinichi Chujo was a nice surprise, but he too doesn't really add much here. Godzilla is treated with more respect this time, unlike the previous movie where Godzilla was a lumbering, mindless brute. Over the last 2 decades, I believe this movie has left some mark on the Godzilla franchise in that most fans, like myself, enjoy the big battle coming early and being a major focal point throughout the remainder of the film. Mothra's marionette is gorgeous here as well, and she may not have looked better since Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. is not one of the best films in the franchise, nor is it the worst. It has some things going for it and make it more unique in the franchise, such as the final battle once again. I would love to see how fans look at this one now. So, yeah, it's a pretty decent film. I'm not sure how much after the 20 years that's been around. I'm not sure how much it is aged well. Like I said, I haven't seen it since our last review of it some years ago. So one of these times I'll have to take a look at it again to see if it's still sort of holds up and if it's still pretty decent since the last time I've seen it. But yeah, it's not good, but it's not that bad. I would say it's sort of in the middle. There, maybe a little bit above the middle point there. So yeah, so that's Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. there celebrating its 20 years. And I would say the next thing that we're going to be going to here is talk a little bit about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, which is also celebrating its anniversary this year. This time it's celebrating its 30th anniversary, released around 1993, just not long after that both Ken and I started to become fans of Godzilla and the kaiju movies here. We kind of started around 92, so hard to believe that 30 years has gone by, to say the least. Yeah, when I remember seeing this for the first time, I think it was right around the time when we moved. I think when I was over 10 by the time when we first saw this. I think I was maybe around, oh gosh, it was in the late 90s or possibly early 2000s. So I was probably getting close to my early to mid teens there. So that I first seen Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, and I would have to say right around that time period, it was one of the better Godzilla movies, and I think it still sort of holds up from the last time I've seen Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. And very good battles, good practical and visual effects for what I had during that time back in 93 there. And I would say pretty decent characters, but I would say they were pretty competent on what they were doing in this particular film. And then the suits and the Marinetta, the Rodan, Fire Rodan, they were really, really good in this film, and the story was pretty good. The score made by Akira Fukube, I would say, because I know he was sort of getting up there in age at this time, but I would have to say, out of all of Akira Fukube's scores, I would say the Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 score was probably one of his best, if not the best one that he's ever done. So I'm going to read off of what Kent thinks of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 here. So let me get a little bit of a sip here. Moisten that mouth there so it doesn't get too dry. This is what Kent has written. I wrote a piece of our for our website nearly 9 years ago now as to why fans need to celebrate the Heisei era of Godzilla films more. Go find it. Seriously, go. I wrote an exhaustive piece that I truly believe defends the legitimacy and grandeur of the Heisei era. But outside of the return of Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Bioline and the rest of the era is pretty much overlooked. And it's okay to overlook Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, which some of you may have known of some of our thoughts towards that particular film, which is a shame considering I think some of the better entries are housed in the 7-film era. One of those entries is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. I've always argued that Akira Ifukube's best work lies within this movie. The rousing themes and marches, while some are reused but updated, are truly magnificent pieces. Arguably, the only other movie that could rival the score involving Ifukube is Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Nevertheless, this movie, despite any silly protagonists, is intense. You can sense it within the G-force that they aren't fucking around anymore and want Godzilla dead. There's quite a bloodlust that's boiling underneath the whole movie. Mechagodzilla executes that to perfection, while not as menacing looking as the 74 concept or counterpart. This one, if not its strongest iteration of the mech yet. This thing packs a wallop and does something that no other kaiju, past or present, has done before. It killed Godzilla. Sure, Rodan using its remaining life force and transferring that to Godzilla to revive him is hokey, but come on. We all want Godzilla to get up and kick his metal counterpart's ass. This is one of those few Godzilla movies where I get seriously involved emotionally and with the final fight. I am like, get up, kick his ass, go on and fight. I become incredibly invested in the final battle. Rodan's death even gets me moving a little at times. I wish the fandom would seriously wake up to the rest of the Heisei era. There is a lot here to love, and this movie is one of them. It's intense, it's emotional, it is one of the better entries in the franchise. It's too bad that too few movies have tried to do something similar to this sense. And I would say I pretty much would agree to that sentiment. It's one of the how would you say it? One of the overlooked, somewhat of an overlooked film in that sense. And even when we go to when we've gone to G-Fest over the years, you don't really hear much of people talking about it a whole great deal, or even in panels, you don't even really hear a great deal. Although I'm sure that they talked about this past G-Fest here, which unfortunately we didn't attend to that this year because of reasons. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. So let's go on to the second. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Go on to the second to last film celebrating its anniversary this year. And one of them is probably a little bit obvious with all some of the advertising out there in the kaiju realm, which is Godzilla versus Megalon, celebrating its 50th year this year. You know, from what we've seen about a couple of months ago with Godzilla Day there, where they shown a short film for Jet Jaguar versus Godzilla, as well as Godzilla versus Megalon CGI animated short there, celebrating those kaiju or characters in that regard. This is Godzilla vs. Megalon sort of has a special place in both, not only just me, but for Kent's and my hearts, because it's the second entry that we've ever seen when we started out watching the Godzilla films back in '92, so just a little over 30 years ago. And I can still clearly remember, I think it was either me or Kent that we picked up the VHS tape of this particular movie at a local Kmart a long time ago. There, we saw it. I forget where we particularly saw it in the electronics aisle of Kmart, but it was one of the few Godzilla movies that we came across, and we were just like, "Oh my god, we gotta have this!" So one of us got it, and then watched it right away as soon as we got back home from the local Kmart there. And I remember over the years that we've watched the hell out of this movie, and always just kind of it's kind of a it has a certain place in our hearts for both Ken and I, just like Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, which was the very first movie that we've seen, and it was kind of the introduction to us getting into the whole Godzilla and then kaiju and Super Sentai stuff. So I would say with both of these movies, I would say without them, I'm not even sure if we would be here doing a podcast and discussing and following the whole Godzilla franchise for that matter. But yeah. And then again, I've seen the movie recently, but it was just only in parts here and there. But one of these times I'll need to get back into watching this in full in that regard. And I know back in G-Fest, the last time we went there was a couple of years last year in 2022, is that they had the one of the special guests that was the kid who was in Godzilla vs. Megalon, made an appearance at G-Fest a couple of G-Fests ago, and it was kind of cool to see. But it's like it's always kind of weird to see them, grow. And I was like, is that the actual person that was in this movie? Because like you're always so used to seeing them when they're like much younger and all that. Pretty much all the cast that has been in these movies for many years, when you see them in person and kind of in their present time, and it's like just kind of feels a little bit different. So with that, just kind of enough about my rambling here. So let's just kind of go over with what Kent has discussed when it comes to this particular film. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. So here's what Kent has for Godzilla vs. Megalon. It always amazed me that Godzilla vs. Megalon was regarded as one of the worst Godzilla movies. Even with the awful pan and scan edited versions of the film we had for years, it certainly was nowhere near as bad as so many claimed. When the full superior version of the film was finally released in 2012, the West was able to begin this wonderful film its due. I still see occasional lambasting of the film, and that's to be expected to personal tastes. But the movie finally began to see some respect from much of the fandom writ large. I even had a newfound respect for the movie once I got my hands on the latest and greatest presentation of the movie. I remember being obsessed about the movie for weeks and hadn't watched that many times since we first got it on VHS back in '92. Say what you want about Godzilla vs. Megalon, but it cannot be criticized for having a lackluster story nor a poor monster battle. I'd argue its final battle can go toe-to-toe with many of the Godzilla franchise films. Needless to say, Godzilla vs. Megalon has had an impact for decades since John Belushi unfairly made fun of the movie on NBC. This particular showing of the movie is what really helped to bring Godzilla to the masses in the States, and not in a good way. Nevertheless, Godzilla became more mainstream, so to speak, in this country after that. This movie always has been a special one for me. Sure, it was the second Godzilla movie I saw, and that nostalgia definitely has something to do with it. But I truly believe, as objectively as possible, that it is a good time at the movies. That it is a good time at the movies. Excuse me. And isn't all we ultimately ask for our movies? Unless you're one of those film snobs, then get the fuck out. I can imagine Kent see how he would have said that in kind of his own way. But nevertheless, it saddens me that the director Jun Fukuda never believed his Godzilla movies were that good, nor did he believe they would be remembered fondly or at all. He knew he was working with much smaller budgets and significantly fewer resources. But I think he be tickled pink to know that Godzilla vs. Megalon, Godzilla vs. Gigan, and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla are films that many fans point to as some of their favorites, and rightfully so. So that's kind of Kent's thoughts on Godzilla vs. Megalon, and yeah, that's kind of pretty much it. I kind of totally agree with what he said here, that with some of the shit that that film has gotten since its inception, as well as with John Belushi. They are kind of poking fun at the film and stuff. That's kind of sort of I would say the point where Godzilla was starting to get his fame, but sort of not in a good way, and that was kind of a sticking kind of a thorn in Godzilla's side for, I would say, for many years, up until, I would say, gosh, maybe until the last 10 or so years, with things starting to pick up, and Godzilla being more known for not being as kooky or anything of the sort. You know, you got the monster first, and then obviously recently with Godzilla -1 in that regard. So Godzilla wasn't as kooky then, but you know, with the film being geared more towards kids and everything during that time, so it was yeah, it was just a bit unfortunate in that regard. But say what you will, but yeah, it's just Godzilla vs. Megalon just kind of has a special place in both Kent and my hearts. So yeah, so that's Godzilla vs. Megalon. They're celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. So let me just take a little bit of a sip break. Okay, so This is the final film that's also celebrating its anniversary this year, and it's celebrating its 60th anniversary, and that is Matango, or Attack of the Mushroom People. And I know we discussed this a few years ago, and I think I may have watched it once or twice since the last time we've discussed and reviewed this film a few years ago. And I would have to say, out of all the non-kaiju Toho films that I've seen so far, this is probably one of the creepier, if not the creepiest movie from Toho that I've seen by far. That I've seen. I know there's maybe a couple or so out there that I've yet to see, but we'll get to that when that time comes. But yeah, Matango, it's excuse me. I would say out of all the non-kaiju Toho kind of horror films out there, or horror sci-fi films out there, I would have to say that Matango is probably one of, if not the best, that I've seen by far. It's just really good. The really good cast, really good practical effects. The story is phenomenal. The score is really good. Gives you that really creepy vibes, as well as the entire environment in that movie, and even the suits for the mushroom people in here when people transform over time, when they transform into these mushroom people, when they eat all the mushrooms and all that, they are really, really good for what they had as far as resources go, and everything. It's just all around, Matango is just a really good, fantastic movie. If you have not seen this film yet, definitely go and get this movie. I'm not even sure if Amazon has anything available on that yet, as far as physical copies, or maybe digital. Who knows? It's been a while since I've ever checked to see if that was still available. But yeah, definitely go check out Matango. Really, 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 really good sci-fi horror non-kaiju Toho movie in that regard. So here is the snippet from what Kent has to think of Matango here. He says, I flip back and forth between Matango and Godzilla being Ishiro Honda's best sci-fi films. Matango is a film that I hold near and dear because it is an example of near perfection in cinema. As I stated previously on the podcast, I was not expecting anything when I first watched the movie. In fact, I was expecting something so silly and ridiculous that I didn't watch the movie for about a month after buying it in 2005. I was blown away when I finally did watch it. Honda's overt and simultaneously subtle commentary on humanity when society breaks down is the best example I've seen of this on film. What makes it so great excuse me, is not just how realistic it's depicted, but how gradual and sometimes subtle it comes about. The characters are all uniquely written exceptionally well. It is a dour movie, but like Godzilla, serves as a warning against humanity to not abandon what can make humanity special. Matango has left an undeniable mark on many who have watched it, and rightfully so. It doesn't showcase the mushroom people too much, and it isn't a fun romp like many kaiju movies, but it is a well-written film that has a lot of important things to say, even 60 years later. And I completely again, completely agree on his sentiment towards Matango here. It would have been sort of nice if they would have had more of the mushroom people be in this film, just to kind of showcase the suits and everything. But overall, with the final presentation of Matango, it's an exceptionally good film. Again, if you haven't seen Matango, I'd definitely go check it out and the like. So that's pretty much it of what Kent has given me here. And that's pretty much it of all the films that are celebrating their anniversaries this year. So with that, I'm just going to kind of end it off here, just to kind of discuss of things that have gone on this year, and then kind of what to expect for next year. So start off as far as 2023 goes. For us, we didn't really do a whole lot. Obviously, we didn't go to, like I said earlier in this episode, that we didn't go to G-Fest this year because we have had other things to do for reasons, and I was out on vacation. So that kind of took a lot of out of my pocket for that for this year in that regard. And then obviously we got the first Toho Godzilla film released in theaters here just recently, with Godzilla -1 for the first time since 70 years when Shin Godzilla came out. And again, you can watch or listen to our last episode where Ken and I discussed and reviewed Godzilla -1 there. And then obviously, if you've have been watching us over the years, and if you watched our Shin Godzilla review that time back in 2016, there you kind of know our thoughts on that particular film. We're not too fond of that film and how heavy pandering that was, and recycling all of the audio and the music and all that. Whereas with Godzilla -1, it kind of did some of the pandering the right way when it came to recreating some of the familiar scores or howls for Godzilla, and then kind of showing some Easter eggs here and there from previous films and all that. But like I said, when it came to Godzilla -1, my little nitpick is that they overused the Godzilla suite or theme way too much. Not only once or twice, but 3 times. Although they're a little bit different from one another, I would say that was just a bit of an overload for that. I would say maybe next time, whenever they do a new Godzilla movie, just make your own theme for whoever's going to be conducting the next Godzilla movie, instead of just rehashing someone else's score. I mean, we've heard the Godzilla theme so many times by Akira Ifukube from other Godzilla movies. It's time to move on to other to what other conductors interpret their Godzilla theme, like some of the other conductors out there that have done some of the Godzilla movies, kind of interpret their own Godzilla theme out there. But that's my little nitpick on Godzilla -1. But overall, I gave it an A+ for that matter. So we get the announcement of obviously the Godzilla Con, the new empire here, along with the trailer and all that. And like it was supposed to come out in about maybe a day before or a day after my birthday, but fortunately they moved it back about an extra month. So fortunately, not going to have a nice birthday present for that movie. But oh well, what can you do? So it's other than that, 2023 has been a good year on my end. Had a nice vacation there in Hawaii for about a week. I know it's not Godzilla related or anything, but just kind of a little bit of a tangent, and then just kind of getting everything in my office or / studio here. Kind of get that more organized, and then upgrading a bunch of things for the podcast here. You can see this is the second time using this mic here, so at least it's going to sound a little bit better. And then new camera. Not particularly a whole lot, with the exception of the Godzilla channel for Pluto TV that came out a few or so months ago, showing Godzilla movies nonstop. I did manage to watch some of the movies on there, but it was just kind of an off and on sort of ordeal. I think, speaking of Godzilla vs. Megalon having an anniversary this year, I did watch part of Godzilla vs. Megalon on the Godzilla Pluto TV channel. That was maybe about a month or so ago, I believe. So so you can say that was the last time I saw Godzilla versus Megalon, but not the entire movie. And then I did proudly have seen on our social media that grabbed a couple shirts from Legendary, as far as Godzilla Con the New Empire merch, like t-shirts. And then also you probably have seen this a while, excuse me, I managed to get one of those ugly sweater designs of both Godzilla here as well as Con, which I got here, which I'm thinking about maybe wearing that in the next episode when Kent comes back. So I'll think about it. I know it's long past Christmas, but hey, we're still sort of in the holidays here. We haven't reached the New Year's just yet. And then I sort of we had we were gonna do a special announcement for this episode, but I sort of thought about that I was still gonna do it, but then with Kent not feeling well and all that stuff, I was kind of wanting him to be around when we make the announcement. So I kind of decided to wait on doing the announcement until he gets back Saturday. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, he should be fine by next Saturday. So plan on looking forward to the special announcement from both Ken and I on January 6th. And speaking of which, we're going to be doing, since we finished up the Spectre-Man episodes here last month, and I know we were kind of going back and forth with Spectre-Man and Kamen Rider. So we're going to be starting out with Kamen Rider at the start of the new year next Saturday. So we're going to be continuing on with that. And I think we left off from episode 21, I believe. I'll have to take a look at that afterwards from where we left off in that regard. And I think that's all I can think of the things that were for this year. Some of the good things, and then miscellaneous things. As far as the things to look forward to into 2024, obviously Godzilla Con, the New Empire, the new movie that's going to be coming out here around mid-April. That's going to be the obvious thing outside of Godzilla -1 here to look forward to. So, yeah, just with some of the things I've seen in the trailer, yeah, it's gonna be a fun time, to say the least. It's just sort of kind of an out there sort of thing from what we've seen about 10 years ago with the 2014 Godzilla film that started off the MonsterVerse. Totally different in that regard. And the other thing to look forward to is that Kent and I are going to be going back to G-Fest again. Kind of decided, we were kind of talking for a little bit if we wanted to or not, and then yeah, so we kind of, I know with Ken, when it comes to him, it's like, oh, this is going to be the last one. But then after a few months later, it's like, I kind of feel like I want to go back there. And then I sort of roll my eyes and everything when he says things like that. But yeah, definitely going to go back to G-Fest. I think it's G-Fest 29. I know the first time we went to G-Fest was G-Fest 19 back in 2012. That was the very first one that we went to. And I remember fondly is like, oh, something new, so grand and everything. But then, like what we've discussed as far as G-Fest over the years, it's just kind of sort of the same, rehashing everything and all that. But yeah, kind of hoping that the G-Fest for next year is going to be a little bit different, obviously, from being at the new hotel, which we were at last year when they did the G-Fest at a new hotel for the first time since starting going to it over at the Crown Plaza, which is not too terribly far from that in Chicago. But yeah, just hope that things are going to be a little bit different. They haven't really announced anything as far as who's going to be the special guest at G-Fest for next year. And then obviously the key attraction is always going to be the dealer's room with all figures and shirts and what have you there. But yeah, I think merchandise wise, I think I'm definitely done with shirts for the time being. I think 2 G-Fests ago, I think I bought maybe one too many as far as shirts go. There, I was thinking I was probably going to go in there, maybe expecting to buy at least 5, but I came out of G-Fest having to buy 13 shirts at the time. And I was like, holy shit, I was not expecting to buy this many. So I would say this time around, probably the one thing I'm going to be looking forward to is kind of focusing more on the unique Sofubi vinyl figurines that are kind of, uniquely sculpted with some special kind of unique paintings, ones that are painted on with unique colors, or some that are translucent, whatever. I know you probably have seen some of them kind of in the background there, and I've got some still box. I need to kind of get them out, but whenever I can get my office/studio here kind of more organized, I'm looking at getting some more vertical shelving in between these grid cubbies behind me, kind of display more of the more or less valuable figurines I have in my collection. But it's like this cubby here has barely got anything in them except for some of the old Masters of the Universe figurines we've had for as long as I can remember. And then, of course, got some unboxed G98 figures or gumball machines up there, along with some of the Japanese Godzilla figurines still boxed, in mint condition. there. So I'm going to kind of dedicate more of that shelving more or less for Sofa B and maybe some of those vertical shelving whenever I can get around to that. And yeah, I think I think that's probably one of the only things that I can really look forward to, unless there's something else. Although like every year there's going to be a new Ultraman Ultra series coming out every year, but they haven't announced that just yet. I think they usually announce a new Ultra show maybe around, I think early of every year, as far as I can remember, where they announce it with kind of a poster and the cast and the new Ultraman, and then doesn't start till around June, July, early July, somewhere around there, right around the time when G-Fest begins. So just kind of be on the lookout for the new Ultraman announcement here soon, because I think over in Japan they tend to do this kind of Ultraman convention around this time of the year, where they have like all the Ultraman and some of the monsters live kind of on this grand stage somewhere in Tokyo there. I'm not entirely sure where. I think it's called Subucon or something of the sort. I know I've seen many of the advertisements for that for whenever there's a new Ultraman. Speaking of which, with the latest Ultra series, let me just check here. Ultraman. Try to see what was the name of the latest one here. TV. Ultraman Blazar. Unfortunately, I've only seen maybe one or two episodes of this one this year, and I would say probably one of the reasons why is that with this particular Ultraman Blazar, is that he kind of does this weird howl and all that. He's like screams a lot and everything. It's just kind of a bit unusual for an Ultraman to do that. It's just scream and yell towards his opponent and everything. And it was a little bit of a turnoff in a way, and got maybe a little bit of annoying in that regard. If the official Super Rai Ultraman YouTube channel still has those episodes up, I'll maybe try to get around to it, but I know it's probably going to be something that is maybe regrettable, because like I says, that his howl or scream towards an opponent kind of, it's a little bit annoying. When I first saw the first one or two episodes of this latest Ultraman show, it's it's just, and it was just sort of presented a little bit weirdly. Don't get me wrong. The way how it started out, it was pretty good. Yeah. And I've seen the trailers for it, and then obviously the first two episodes, it kind of made it more sort of realistic in a way, instead of just kind of like, having this Science Patrol or whatever type of Monster Patrol team out there, or having some kind of kids being part of it, or some cute monster in it. It was more of kind of a serious type of show, Ultraman Blazar. But again, it was the way that I saw it the first two episodes, it was just really kind of a bit weird and a bit odd and a little bit annoying, particularly when it came to this particular Ultraman screaming and yelling at his opponent almost all the time. Like it was just a bit unusual for an Ultraman, but other than that, can't think of really anything else to go with. So with that, thank you for joining this little special edition of the year-end final episode of the Daikaiju Network show of 2023. So if you see a subscribe button down below or above or wherever you're watching us from, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as smash the like button. And if you have any questions or comments regarding to what I've discussed here in this particular episode, make sure you have your comments down below. And let me just take off this little scrolling ticker here and bring up this little thing. If you can find Daikaiju Network everywhere in one place. Our link tree URL, smack dab on your screen there, /Daikaiju Network. And we're available on the following video platforms such as YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Facebook, and X/Twitter. And we're also available on audio platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Podbean. And you can find both video and audio versions of our episodes right on our own website right there, smack dab in your face at daikaijunetwork.com. So again, thanks for joining us here on our final episode of 2023. And we will see you guys on, I think it was January 6th, which is next Saturday. And Kent should be back then, and we're going to be continuing on with our discussion and review of the whole Kamen Rider series, and I think we'll be starting off with episode 22. I'm not entirely certain on that, so don't take my word for it, but I think it might be episode 22 when we start off with that here next year in 2024. So with that, this is Jason, and we will see you next Saturday. Take care, everyone.